want to tell you the most common way that beginners lose deals. They already found. They do the work, they pull the list. Maybe they're even in an amazing module or course like this, program like this. Seller calls back, conversation goes well. They're like, dude, where am I going to get the money from? Or they don't even get into land investing because they're like, dude, I can't find a $100,000 check. They freeze. They have no idea where this money is going to come from. And by the time they figure it out, sellers moved on. The deal is dead, and the operator sitting there is thinking, what was my problem? Was it the market? Was it the price? Was it my comps? The real problem was they didn't have the confidence to go through and fund the deal. And also, they end up pushing their expectations down and they don't get deals done. Deals that maybe they could have made $50, $100, $20, $200,000 on because they're afraid to take them down because they didn't have access to the right funding. By the time you finish this video, you're going to know exactly how your first deal gets funded. Not theoretically, literally exactly step-by-step process. Not with a specific path, specific criteria, and a specific action to take. So when your deal lands, you execute. And you don't scramble. You know exactly what you can do. If you ever looked into funding for house flipping or rental properties, you already have some mental models around this. Hard money, private money, banks. Those exist in land too. But the land funding world has a few things that make it genuinely different and that you don't understand. And if you don't understand what's going on, you're going to make expensive mistakes. Now, first, banks are harder on raw land than on houses. Most conventional lenders will not touch undeveloped land at all. And those that do want significant down payments, sometimes 30 to 40%. And they want to see the land has clear development potential. Unlike houses, if you have no track record with land, with a house, you can cash flow. If you have a tenant in place, you can buy a house or a multifamily property or huge buildings. You can cash flow, right? There are people in what they call a debt service coverage ratio, right? Debt service coverage ratio with banks, they look at the existing asset, but with land, they look at your personal finances. And so if you're just starting out, you don't have a debt service coverage ratio if you don't have a W-2. So bank financing for the first deal is not something I usually recommend, even though it's the cheapest form of financing, and eventually you should get there. Now, second, there are almost no standardized hard money lenders in land space the way they are in residential real estate. A few exist, but because the market is thin, they can charge whatever they want, and many do. You'll see rates that would make a residential hard money lender blush, 2-3% a month. Third, land investing is something that almost no other real estate investing niche has at scale. Funding partners, people in companies who specialize in providing capital for land deals in exchange for a share of the profit. Now, large syndicators do this, right? There's no interest rate. There's no monthly payment. It's literally pure equity split. And this is the model that opens a door for beginners who are good at finding deals, but they do not have the capital or the income documentation. What I really like about JV lenders, and I am one, and my first 18 months in a land business, I literally only use JV lenders, right? But what I like about JV lenders is actually they can stress test your first deal. See, land at the beginning is really, really difficult to underwrite. And having a really expert funding partner that can help underwrite deals to stress test is going to be the best thing you possibly can do. And you'll learn so much from this person that you wouldn't have learned if you were just going to a general hard money lender or you were going to someone like a bank. They expect you to know the numbers before you submit it to them. Of course, with a general JV lender, they're going to expect the same thing, but they also, provided you have the right one, will coach you through the process so you actually learn along the way, which helps you grow. And even though in the short term, it might be hard money, JV equity might be similar in terms of the amount of capital that you're giving up to acquire the asset, the additional expertise consulting that you get from a JV funder, at least in my estimation, is much better. So option number one I was talking about is a funding partner. They will provide all the capital to purchase and hold a land deal in exchange for a share of the net profit when it sells. Now, the structure for a JV lender is different. You find the deal, that you negotiate it, you put it under contract, you bring it to a funder, they wire the money, they carry the risk. When the property sells, you split the profit. Typically, it's 75-25 over a period of time, and usually it gets about 50-50. That's what it usually ends up being. So you put $0, you take zero financial risk. If the deal goes sideways, that's on the funder. And you walk away with half of whatever upside is created. Now, at the beginning, like I said, really, really good. especially for a beginner who can find the deals but doesn't have the capital, right? So let's talk about why this model exists specifically in land and why it's exploded over the past 5 years. Before land funders became common, you had two choices. You could either wholesale the deal, right? You could assign your contract to another buyer for a flat fee, typically a fraction of the actual profit, a couple $1,000, or you find your own capital to close it yourself. Now, wholesaling is a very low risk but low reward version of real estate. Closing it yourself is higher reward but requires a ton of capital that most beginners don't have. So funders saw this gap. They said, hey, what if we could partner with the people who are great at finding and negotiating deals, but they can't close them? And we could provide the capital in exchange for the equity, right? Both sides here win. The operator makes more than they would if they were just wholesaling it, and they could focus all their time on getting deals. And the funder makes strong returns without having to run their own acquisition machine. Win-win. Now, that's the model. And it's the reason why most people on their first 5, 10, 15 deals work directly with a funding partner. So what does this relationship actually look like, right? So you source and negotiate the deal independently. Then you submit the deal to the funder with comps, utilities, all the information, price, ARV, comps, recommended exit price, broker, all the things that you would need to know. Funder reviews within 24 to 72 hours, approve or declines. And if approves, the funder will put the deal in their name and they'll wire the purchase price at closing. A property is typically held, like I said, in the funder's entity. And when it's sold, the net proceeds are split per the agreed upon terms. You move on to the next deal. Super clean, super easy. Now, here's how I thought about it when I was getting started, right? I was like, dude, giving up 50%, that's crazy. But at the beginning, like I said earlier, the amount of learning, provided you have the right funding partner, that you can get through hearing how they think about it, hearing how they underwrite, ask the questions that they ask, will expand your capacity. So maybe you give up a good amount of equity on 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 deals. But at the end of the day, it allows you to close deals that you wouldn't be able to, and you learn, right? Most important thing, though, is that a lot of funders out there, I'd be careful with them. Some of them, and I've heard this, you want to do your due diligence. You want to ask people who they've worked with in the past, right? This is what I did. Because sometimes people say, hey, here's a better deal. And they put the property in their LLC, something bad happens. So you get a really good deal. You want to make sure you are working with the right person, right? Now, here are a couple of red flags that I always look for and I recommend people look for in the deal engine in general. Not all funders are created equal. Some operators are predatory. Red flags are funders who want to control your deal flow, meaning they expect exclusivity or right of first refusal on every deal you find. Red flag. Funders who change the split after you've submitted, or who has fees layered on top of the equity split that weren't discussed up front. Funders who are slow to fund, the whole point of this model is speed. If a funder takes 2, 3, 4 days or a week to close, you're going to lose sellers. Funders who want to own the relationship with your seller after the deal. This is how deal theft happens. I've seen it happen too many times, especially with new funders. You want to work with funders who have a clear written agreement, a track record of closed deals, and operators in the community who will vouch for them. And now option number 2 is hard money lenders. Hard money is an asset-based lending. The lender cares primarily about the property and the deal, not your credit score or your income history. In land, hard money is much more expensive than in houses, and options are limited. Now, what I see in land is 2 to 3 points a month. A lot of times they see a lot of junk fees like appraisal fees, attorney fees, additional fees in terms of, if I'm paying a hard money lender every month, there's additional fees on top of it. So typical terms could be 18 to 24, maybe higher annualized interest rate, 1 to 3 origination points, some form of down payment. Usually it's 10 to 20% of the purchase price, and monthly payments, which can be really hard on cash flow, especially early on in our business. We have a really lumpy business. Now, if you look at a period of a year, risk-adjusted return, hard money lenders could net you more. It's something that I'm always thinking about, especially with the people in our deal engine, right? So at what level does it make sense to go exclusively with a hard money lender versus a funder? And it's not just about points and cash flow and the amount of equity that you take out, your net profit. Are you in a growth stage? And then if you're having to pay a hard money lender every month versus paying someone like an equity lender or maybe a hard money lender at accrual when you sell the deal, that could kill your ability to grow. So you might even give up 10 percentage points annualized by working with the equity funder because you need that cash flow every single month. It's not cut and dry, right? It's not cut and dry. And there are certainly good hard money lenders out there. I've used them. Just when you're starting out, you want to be careful of that. Weigh your options. It's not just dollars and cents, right? It's also about, am I scaling this business properly? How do I think about my return on my capital? Do I have the cash to put 10 to 20% down? Or if I invest that in marketing, would I get a 5 to 10x more ROAS? Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should hire the extra person and do an equity split. At the end of the day, hard money lenders are cheaper, depending on the hard money lender you're using, are cheaper than equity funders. Also, timeline matters. But one thing that I always think about is, hey, what about return on stress, return on hassle? Cheaper than hard money lenders is private lenders. Now, private lenders are people that are family, friends, people that you've worked with in the past. I found private lenders can be a little bit below hard money lenders, 20% annualized, 15% annualized, 12% annualized, maybe even lower. I like using hard money lenders, but at the beginning, again, when you haven't done a lot of land deals, going to a friend or family, a mother or father, whomever, and asking them for money without having the track record to back it up, to me, I didn't like doing that. I didn't raise money even when everyone was talking about, hey, Clay, you should raise money to syndicate, to buy more rental properties. So I'm kind of a risk-averse person. So when it comes to private money, love private money, decreases your cost of capital over time. That is a super important thing that you need to do as a CEO to scale your business. But at the beginning, if you have the access, use it. It's going to be cheaper. Like I said, 12, 15, 20%, which is cheaper than hard money. And a lot of times you can get it on an accrual basis, which is better. Last thing is going to be bank financing. Love bank financing. We use it for a lot of our subdivides. You buy a property, 100,000, 200, 300, 400,000. A lot of times banks don't like to go below 100,000. We like to use local ag lenders, commercial banks, $750,000 purchase price, $1 million purchase price. We buy these things. What we will do with these banks is we'll make sure a couple of things. Number one, partial releases. If we sell, for example, we have 10 parcels that we've cut up from one large parcel. These parcels, smaller parcels, what is called child parcels, we get what is called a partial release, which means we can release a percentage. If we have 10 parcels, we release a percentage of the 10 parcels in terms of loan amount. So if it was 10 parcels, it was a $100,000 loan, we release $10,000 per parcel. That allows us to pull cash out faster. Now that's even faster and better and a higher return on your time. You get to pull that cash out sooner, better IRR for your capital if you can do partial releases with banks. Again, this is 201, 301. I just wanted to give you the full picture. We love using that with banks. Banks going to be way cheaper, 8, 7%, maybe a point at closing, maybe 2, some variation of that. That's why we love using bank financing. But again, you have to have good tax returns. It's good to use when you are a W-2 or have a strong balance sheet. And I like to come with banks and I show them, hey, we've done 350 transactions. We're a sure bet, right? But bank financing is, for most land investors, kind of the cheapest form of capital. And most people get into that, especially when they're going after larger deals. I just found at the beginning, I was never able to do it because I was doing full-time land investing and I wasn't super bankable. But you'll become more bankable as you get more cash in the bank and you increase your track record and obviously increase your income through flipping more land deals. So here's how I think about the cost comparison. Let's do an example of for funding private money, hard money funders, and bank financing. So imagine, depending on the size of the deal, right, funding partners will be much more expensive. Then hard money loans will be less expensive. Private money, bank financing at the bottom. The way I think about it is at the beginning and when you're going after larger deals, funding, let's say deal 1 through 15, 1 through 20, and then you go to hard money, private money, thereafter, and then bank financing thereafter with hard money to go after much larger deals, right? So cost of capital decreasing over time. You need to put more dollars in the deal or more skin in the game, whether that's cash, credit, or time building relationships. There is no free lunch in this game, but there is a right tool at each stage, like I said. So if you've gotten to this point in the video, we do fund people's deals. So if you're interested, you can look down below. Now that you understand the 4 different ways that people fund land deals, we do purely an equity split. And so you can click the description down below. You can submit a series of things like APN, county, state, and we get back usually within 24, 48 hours at the most. We can close in 48 hours. So people don't have to wait, because we know we are operators as well, and we know people need a funder who can close quickly. First of all, congratulations. This is the last module, and the last true module, and you have gone through the whole thing. Congratulations. Seriously. Really impressed. Hopefully by this time you have your first deal and you've submitted it below to get funding, right? At least we can give you feedback. Whether or not you choose us, we'd be honored to look it over and give you feedback on whether or not we think it's going to be a good deal for you, whether it's your first or your next deal. Again, like I said at the beginning of these modules, the goal of the First Deal Accelerator is to get you to the foundation of understanding this is how I can start and scale a business, and maybe even get your first land deal in 90 days. I want you to use this program to prove the model works in your own business, and you build your track record. And then you start to ask different questions. How do I fund this without giving away the deal? How do I actually scale? How do I do more than one deal a month? How do I do a deal a week? The question is what the Deal Engine is built to answer. Now, the Deal Engine is a community where operators who've already proven the model or want to get a head start, want to accelerate their process, their infrastructure, using the same SOPs, tactics, strategies, projects that we use in our $350,000 a month land flipping business, and they want to apply those to their business. Now, on average, like I said at the beginning, someone that joins the Deal Engine today, maybe you, has between $100,000 to $250,000 in additional gross profit to their land business in the first 12 months. Now, that's not about working harder. That's about working with the right system, having support from a community, and the accountability that keeps them moving at the speed that this business requires. Now, this Deal Accelerator is where you start, and the Deal Engine is where you scale. And the bridge between them is doing the work, closing the deal, or saying to yourself, hey man, I want to move faster. The next step, it's in your court, but we welcome your application. You can click the application link down below if you'd like to try to join us. If you'd like to apply to join the Land Deal Engine, the #1 land flipping and developer community on the internet, period, and add an additional $100,000 to $250,000 to your income this year, we will see you in the application. And if not, now's not the right time, congratulations. From the bottom of my heart, you complete these modules. This is going to set you up to do your first deal, add an extra deal. We just have one more module here, which is about closing it, right? It's about transactions, closing your transaction. But at this point, you have all the context that you need to be successful there. And hopefully, you have your first deal that you just submitted for funding that you're going to make some money, right? That's incredible. So we will see you in the next module. As always, thank you so much. As always, every single week, we bring things to help you start and scale a land flipping business. If you have questions, we appreciate, leave a comment down below and hit subscribe so you can get more updated content around how to start and scale a land flipping business in 2026.